Okay, so we just wait students, yeah, they join us. Okay.
Okay, so can I just, oh Daphne, I can't see you, I can only see your background. Oh, wait, don't worry. I can see bits of you now, okay. So, just before we, well, there are some students here. Oh, there are. So how shall I do this? Do you want me to do the workshop first?
Yeah, I think probably Cam can introduce BCU for a few minutes. Okay, about 5 minutes, and then we can start workshops.
No problem.
Okay, so what I've got, I've set up everything we need. We have all the folders. What I need to be able to do is to give the students each an individual image. They're all on mine. So, I think so. I'm just opening up the folder. So what I need to be able to do is give them an individual image. And then take them through a very brief outline, no more than like 5 or 6 slides, about how they can put some narratives together. There's 5 folders. I'm not going to tell you what's in them because that will spoil the surprise, obviously. This is going to be interesting, Cam, because I've never done this way before. It's always been face-to-face where you present the materials, separate the groups, have them not talking. So this could be either really good or just very interesting, but you're still going to learn something. Oh, dear. Ah, here we go. Oh.
Okay, and then Rob, after workshop, I just need your help. For one student she wants to apply product design, MA product design, and I need your help to just review her portfolio first, and then later on, I will just help her apply online. Okay, so yeah. Probably she will just finish her portfolio in the end of February, so I will just send her documents to BCU as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean that's good. Finish the portfolio.
She needs your suggestion first.
That's very sensible to be able to say what will be, because one of the things I've got here is also portfolio preparation, what to include, what not to include. Certain things that will automatically not be looked at. So it's very useful before anyone submits any portfolio, actually, just to be able to say this is what is required. And if you look at product, there's going to be certain things they're looking for that's slightly different from, say, visual communication or animation. So they're all slightly different. You know what it's like.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
I will send Rob, I will send you a private message on the student's portfolio. Daphne already sent me the information as well.
Okay, so have you emailed that to me?
Sure, I can email it to you and I can also send it in the Teams chat.
Yeah, okay. The Teams chat will be fine, no worries.
Okay, no problem. Let me just send it to you now.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we just wait for about 2 minutes. Okay, so I can just speak to the students first. Okay. 大家好，很欢迎你们今天来参加我们 BCU 的一个 online 的一个 workshop。 然后麻烦大家要先把那个你们的麦克风先关掉，先把麦克风关掉，因为这样子。李边章，你先把麦克风关掉。没有那么重，大家要来我推车。李边章，先把麦克风关掉，因为这样子的话，都听到你的声音了。你们要先把麦克风关掉，这样子才能够听到那个老师的一些讲的一些东西。然后等一下Ken会先帮你们介绍一下 BCU 的一些东西。李边章，麻烦你先把麦克风。我觉得八角架太多了，但是昨天那八角我也是蛮重的。好 ，OK， 好 ，OK，Vivian，finally， thank you。好，那大家我们就先欢迎 Ken 帮我们介绍一下有关于 BCU 的一些基本的一些资讯，然后等到 Ken 介绍完了之后呢，我们还会再请Rob 开始进行我们今天非常有趣的一些 workshop。OK， 好 ，OK，Yeah， Ken， you can start. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Hi guys, good evening. My name is Cam and I'm the regional manager for Birmingham City University. So before we begin the workshop, as you know, there's Rob Gibbs with us, and he's actually a very great lecturer of ours, and he always introduces and obviously, show us a lot of information about BCU. But on top of that, he's here today to basically give you guys an art and design workshop to make you understand more about BCU as well. But before we get there, I would just like to show you a very quick introduction in terms of what Birmingham City University is. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask us or leave us a message, and we'll sure to get back to you on that, right? So without further ado, I would just like to tell you a little bit about BCU and why should you choose BCU. Number one is basically because of our location. It is in the second largest city in the UK, right? So Birmingham is the second largest city in the UK in terms of populations. We have over 1 million people living in Birmingham. It is also only 1 hour and 20 minutes away from London, and the train station is within 3-minute walk from the university as well. We have a high populations of international students, especially students from Southeast Asia, whether that is from Taiwan, from Hong Kong, from Thailand, from Vietnam. So very good mixture of, Southeast Asian students. We also have our own Chinatown, which obviously give you access to every single Asian amenities there is. In terms of what Birmingham looks like, I want to show you guys a couple of images here to get you a feeling of what Birmingham actually looks like. This is the mailbox, which is about 15 minutes walk from the university. This is also what the city center looks like, and also our very own Curson building, the red building that you see here, which is basically where our library and student services are. You also have access to like Starbucks, also like the students' food courts as well. But you also have that within the Parkside building, which is right next door to the left-hand side, which is where our art and design building is. Next by or nearby is basically the Bull Ring, which is basically the main shopping mall, right, in the very city center as well. And that is literally about 2 steps away from the university. So within 3-minute walk, as soon as you cross the street, you will be met with the train station and also the Bull Ring. So that is where Selfridges is. As you guys know, that's where all the shopping happens for a lot of our students. And then just below the Bull Ring is where Chinatown is. So that is within walking vicinity to BCU, right? So definitely the number one reason why you should study with us is also the location. And basically, we also have the university locks, which is basically the students' accommodation, right? This one is £160 per week, and it's also all inclusive of some of the electricity bills, the gas, the bill, also Wi-Fi as well, and you have your own ensuite bathroom as well within your bedroom. Apart from that, not only do we have university locks, but you can see all the blue dots is basically all the other students' accommodation available within the vicinities of the university, which means that you have access to your accommodation and the school within 5 to 10 minutes walk as well. Now, number 2 reason of why you should choose BCU is the facilities that we have on offer, which I'm sure that Rob will talk to you about it as well. But for a lot of art and design students, you guys understand the needs of having great equipment, having every single printer working, every single machines that allows you to do your design work. So BCU actually input, right? We spent 6.5 to 7 million pounds each year just to buy you new equipment, update your software, right? So you have access to every single thing that the industry actually use at the moment. So this applies to everything, right? In terms of the buildings that we have, obviously we have the Curson building, we have the School of Jewelry, and we also have the Birmingham School of Art. Now, I don't know if you guys know much about the schools or the university in England, but for me, there's 2 types of schools. There's the red bricks university, so universities like the Hogwarts style, right? And then we have university that we consider to be modern university. BCU, for me, different from any of those universities because we're a mixture of both. Our Birmingham School of Art was opened from 1843, which is 180 years old at the moment. So we actually have that Birmingham School of Art within our schools, which means that we have that old tradition as well as the new upcoming future equipment and the future academics that is with us today. All of which I wanted just to show you as well, just pictures of our facilities, our buildings that we have in Birmingham City University, including our green screen, which is actually one of the largest fixed screen in Europe. We also have some cameras here, the Miro. We only have 3 of these Miro units, right, in the whole of Europe, and one of them is at the university. We invest in these design equipments and in these equipment so that the industry can actually rent our space, our equipment, but the condition is that we want them to also basically hire you guys as our students to actually take part in these projects that they have. And all the tools that we have as well, for example, this is the tools in the School of Jewelry. These art and design facilities in general, we have different spaces for each individuals to explore their creative needs. Some of our courses have integrated management modules in them as well, so you guys can learn about managing some of your projects. We also have amazing creative work. So at the end of the year, for example, fashion design, we have the end of year fashion show. The students' work have they've worked with Burberry, they work with Paul Smith, Adidas, right? So these are our fashion design students. For architecture students, we have machines I've never seen before in Southeast Asia. So for example, we have these vacuum forming machines that allows you to create forms, right? So these are, machines that are very beneficial for you to actually create your models with. And we have that at the university. For our visual communication students, our foundation in art and design students, you have access to printing studios. You have access to, both old styles of printing, like, the screen printing, and we also have digital printing studios as well. For our School of Jewelry, some of the courses that we teach at Jewelry School, we don't teach anywhere else in the world. For example, teaching of how to make watches, right? We also have that in our School of Jewelry Design. Now, reason number 3 is the support. You will have teachers like Rob here who are basically going to be your advisors, and they're very hands-on with you. So the first moment that we realize that you've signed on for maybe the professional placement options, they're there to help guide you, right, to assist you in terms of where have you applied to, what kind of jobs you're looking for. But on top of all your lecturers, we also have the Career Plus Center. These centers are there to basically show you what jobs are available right now and how to apply for it. What do you write in your resumes? what link you need to actually apply for this position. We not only have one career center, but we actually have 4 career center. Each faculties will have their own career center for you guys to actually go to them and ask them questions and actually get coaching for you to find jobs and future employment, right? So this is one of the things that I think BCU is great for, is the employability. Right? We are actually ranked 7th in the UK for employment. 97% of our students within 6 months would be able to, get themselves a graduate level jobs. On top of that, we also have a lot of accreditations across the universities, not only just in art and design as well. So whatever your course that you want to get into, we make sure that we have accreditations for that. Now, reason number 4 is also the affordability of Birmingham as well. So not only just the tuition price of the university, but also the fact that you can find part-time jobs within Birmingham. There's so many different businesses, over 45,000 small businesses in Birmingham. But we can also find part-time jobs at the universities, also in any shops, any commercial spaces in the city as well. Some of my students are making average of around £700 for part-time jobs, right? On top of that, Birmingham is around 30 to 40% cheaper than it is to live in London. So a lot of students now are looking for options in big cities, but not as expensive as London. So BCU is actually one of the best choices there is in that regard. We also give you some scholarships as well. So this is merit-based. So this depends on you guys in terms of your graduation, in terms of your GPA. What is your GPA when you graduate, right? So average, if you're about 3.0 out of 4 GPAs or above, we're looking at giving you that £2,000, right? So first class degree honor, we give you immediately that £2,000. You don't need to send us any additional essays to ask for this particular scholarships. We only give it to you when you reach a certain GPA level that we need. In terms of rankings and updates, I just wanted to show you guys, as you know, we're here to talk about art and design. BCU, Birmingham City University, is known for art and design. And in 2023-24, on the Guardians League table, the complete university guides, we are listed for a lot of these courses in art and design. So I just wanted to give you guys very quick updates here on that, right? Now, I'm just going to show you a little bit more about the English requirements before I pass this back on to Rob. At the moment, BCU, we're accepting IELTS overall of 6.0, right? So 6 overall and minimum of 5.5. Other than that, we also accept every other available English qualification there is listed on this particular slides for you. So if you have any questions with that, obviously Daphne and I are here to help you. So if you want to, get involved and understand more about what what score you have, you might have studied IGCSEs before. We also accept IGCSEs English scores as well. So you don't need to take extra IELTS, right? Yeah, so I'm just going to stop it here. So quick and easy, and then pass it back on to Rob and Daphne as well. So thank you very much.
Okay, so right now we just pass to Rob, and then it will be our tonight's very, very good show. Okay, it is about the BCU workshop. Okay, so Rob, it's your time. Yep.
I think Rob is frozen for a moment. Before we wait for Rob to come back, I guess I can ask you guys a little bit as well in this classroom. If you guys can type me some information, like what kind of courses or area that you might be interested in, so that I can also ask Rob to also send us some, give you guys some insights to those courses. Or if you have any questions about BCU, please, type in some questions for me as well, so I can give you guys some answers while we wait for Rob to come back. I think his internet has dropped for a few seconds there.
Okay. 大家如果说有任何的问题，也可以就是那个 Cam 他刚刚在说，你们可以在你们那个聊天室那边可以自己稍微打一下问题哦，然后或者是等一下workshop 结束之后呢，欢迎你们可以那个提问哦，你们到时候就可以再打开你们麦克风，然后可以提问，然后来也可以欢迎你们大家就是说现在可以先把你们所有的一些问题啊，或者是你们想上课的一些课程，都可以打在那个 chat room 那一边，哦，可以让 Cam 也可以到时候会来跟你们大家说，哎，可能有哪一些的课程啊，或者样子问题，他都可以来回答。嗯哼。
I also understand as well because I studied architecture in school, so I love art and design. So this is why I get very excited with the equipments that we have at the university. There are so many machines that I don't think is possible to have in the school. For example, we have laser cutting machine. Obviously, you know, normally we have laser cutting machine, right? But at BCU, we have water laser cut so that it cuts things that won't burn the surface of the materials. So this would be great for students making, you know, product design, great for students doing architecture, things like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. A few years ago, yeah, I just went to BC. Okay, Robert is coming, right? Okay, Rob.
Yes, Rob is back.
So I'm having some issues here right now. I'm trying to download some stuff. The internet's just not working, so it's like I'm not so sure. So if you give me a second, I have an outline here. That's fine. And I need to be able to show you. So I've got a slightly longer presentation, but I'm going to run through very quickly, Daphne. So don't worry. It covers a lot of areas that Cam's already covered quite well. I just want to talk a little bit about the sort of equipments that we have and that we use. Before we do a little kind of workshop about narrative understanding and then do some portfolio reviews. So can I just, you probably haven't seen this, Cam. So you actually have seen this one. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's just everything's frozen there. So I'm going to go straight to our facilities and just go through this very quickly. I'm going to share my screen with you. If you want to ask questions, please ask questions. Oops. So some of our facilities look like this. So we've got a set of amazing digital print studios and print rooms that we've had for quite some time. We've also got traditional print facilities for lithograph, screen printing, photo printing. We've also got wet processes and photographic studios. These are used by all students from different areas. So if you're, for example, an architect, you need to photograph your models, or your product designer, you need to photograph your models. You take them to these spaces, you work with people. If you're producing moving images or animation, films, advertising, again, all of these are in here. We've got television studios that are the level you would expect to get into the television industries. And in terms of things like editing, we have sound editing, radio editing, standard industry facilities that are necessary. And we're made up of a number of areas. So we have all these different courses, for example, in visual communication. I'm going to run through this very quickly. In architecture, we have all these different courses as well: landscape, interior, product, and we've got quite a good selection of MA courses, including interior design, product, environmental, architecture. Very useful. Also what we have, which is good, I'm going through this very quickly. In terms of fashion, if you're interested in fashion, these are all the courses, anything from business promotion, branding communication, garments, MAs in styling, promotion. So it's a complete suite of courses that actually work for all students. The fine art areas, we've got MA Fine Art, we've got Art and Design, a lot of MA programs dealing with project management, innovation and leadership in We've got filmmaking, film studies. There's also business promotion, feature film development. So all of these things are pretty useful. Very handy to sort of see what we actually do. BAs, these are fast-track 2-year degrees in video game art, digital materials, game production. And again, the media across all areas
I think he get cut off again. Let me just send him a little message. In the meantime, again, oh, he's back.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep, we can
Can
hear
you
you.
hear me now?
Yes, we can hear now. Yeah.
There's some, the internet is not playing up too well today, so I'll go back to where I was. So where we are in terms of jewellery, you know, we have a lot of different jewellery areas: MA, luxury management, horology. I was going to show you this.
Rob,
Take too long.
I think the screen is frozen to the entire screen. When you're currently sharing the whole screen. There we go. Yeah, we got it.
Right, so I'll try. Sorry about this. Try again. So can you now see the presentation?
Yeah.
Right, technology is good when it works. So again, so for example, jewellery, we have School of Jewellery. So these are all independent satellites of the university. They're different parts of the university itself, which is useful. So I've also got an acting course, some applied stage management. Some of these are the best courses in the UK. So I'm going to come out of this because I don't want to crash the system any more than is necessary. Actually, can I show you this? I don't know if you showed this, Cam, but this is the accommodation we have.
Yeah.
So there's a number of places. So this is University Locks. This is literally 2 minutes from the main campus, or 15 minutes from, for example, Margaret Street, or some of the Hells campuses. And this is what the accommodation looks like. So there are large social spaces. There's also kind of relaxing areas, kitchens on each floor, en suites in all areas as well, which is pretty useful. And downstairs, there's a huge laundry room, as you would expect. So this is sort of accommodation that if you come, you would be expected to be moving into. The building on the other side there is the university. So it literally, you can see it from one part of the building to the next. So again, very sort of purpose-built accommodation that's 21st century and works for everybody. So I think that this is quite an interesting area, actually. So I'm just going to come out of that one and stop. Right, so I'm going to close that one. Cancel, minimize. So I'm having so much problems today. Okay. Sorry about this, Cam. The internet's been dreadful. I should have done this in my old office. I should have done it in my old office. Because
I'm turning my camera off so that it's not going to be lagging as much.
Okay. Oh, so hopefully between Cam's presentation and parts of mine, that's giving you an idea of what the facilities are like, what the place is like. So, Daphne, would you like me to take people through a workshop?
Yes.
Oops.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is the first time I've tried this workshop like this online. It's always been done face to face. So this is the first time I'm going to try it. And what I'd like each student to do is, so how many students are there in total? 15. Brilliant. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so I don't know all your names because I can only see bits and pieces. So it would be good. Right, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to give you each an image, a photograph. But before we do that, I'm going to take you through how to convince and persuade people. So I'm going to take you through this. This is only like 5 minutes, so don't worry. It's just a very brief introduction to how you convince and persuade audiences. And what this is using narrative and using narrative designs, which also is very handy when you begin to put together your portfolios. So this is how to convince and persuade an audience using narratives. So this is actually based on a colleague's lecture that he does on this book. If anyone's interested in storytelling in any forms, this just happens to be about advertising. It could be about animation. It could be about product design. It could be about how you sell things. This is a really interesting starting point. So this is some of the material from Gaston Legobreau and Darren McCall's work. And it's basically a very brief introduction to how you tell stories. Then I'm going to ask you to do something very, very similar. Not too heavy. So the first thing to say is, we're looking at connecting stories emotionally. So if you want to, you could make some notes. So how do you connect an audience emotionally to your story or to the kind of products you're going to produce? So using products, services, experiences, something that connects. So when I give you these images, there'll be something within the image that you might want to connect. And you can connect things like, environment, space, storytelling. So you have this idea of a brand strategy, you've got some shared values, and you have experience. And then you have this S, which becomes an interesting design. So when it comes to storytelling, it's communication. Often it's described as sometimes story yelling, old school 20th century ways to run businesses. That changed a long time ago. So you need to think a bit like this. Stories by themselves do little to engage in audiences. So a story or a narrative might be useful for a small period of time, but then what happens afterwards? How does it work? Well, the best way to do it is to look at some of these, which they build slowly into what stories can be in terms of audiences and time. So one of the things that I think you might want to look at when we do this little exercise, and just to be clear, is define your audience. So I think the idea of defining your audience really helps when you start to draw works together, okay? So defining an audience basically becomes essential. So when it comes to storytelling, often the thing that most people ignore are experiences. So you'll talk about words, possibly images, definitely, maybe sounds, but experiences are really interesting to relate an experience to an image and then see if the audience understands what you're trying to do. This is a form of persuasion that is often used, well, in advertising definitely, but in a lot of different areas. So that's something to think about. So these when we start this exercise. So they are, you could look at the work I'm going to give you from a comedic point of view, a tragedy point of view, possibly overcoming the monster, the voyage and return, quests, rags to riches, rebirths. So these are kind of basically from the book, 7 Basic Plots by Christopher Brooker. So, Booker, not Brooker. So have a look at these and see if they're useful. So this is the life cycle of what you might do in terms of a product, but it works for a narrative, it works for storytelling and advertising, in filmmaking, in music, in books. You may have an introduction, then a growth, maturity, decline, then a reintroduction. And how that actually looks is, exposition, inciting some incident, crisis, climax, denouement, the end. That's all too brief, by the way. You need to look at Storyscaping as a book, because it's really possibly one of the most wonderful narrative structures you can do. So that probably didn't make a lot of sense, but it might. Now I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to chat, and I'm going to shout out people's names, okay? And what I'm going to do is this. So Alan, Charles, Chu, whoops, you're gone. Charles is gone. All right, so Charles, Chu, and易禧and Jing, I'm going to give you an image, okay? So I'm going to put the image in the chat. So Charles, Chu, Jing, I want you to look at this image and you're going to use it, okay? So I've posted that just for you three. Please, no one else look at them. So Ellie, then we have Guest and Maggie. I'm going to put an image for you into the chat. Okay. And you have this one. Okay. Now you don't talk to each other about the images. So Mint, Vivian, Des, or easy, not easy guessed. I'm going to put number C for you. Oh, you can see the images. Ah, it's not going to work. Okay, let's try it this way. Okay, this is not ideal, but we'll get it to work. So, and now for Vivian, we go for the 3 more guests with no names, so I can't see who they are. This image is for you. So this is for you. Then lastly, for everyone else, you're going to have this image here. Okay, good. Right, so can you turn your cameras on if possible? And hopefully we won't lose any signal. So if you can turn your cameras on. Ooh. Can you turn your cameras on? Is it possible? We need to look at each other. Ooh, that was interesting. Right, what you need to do is this. Aha, Mint. Got one person. Mint, hello. So I gave you each an image. What I'd like you to do is 2 things. 1, look at the image very carefully. If you've also got some note paper, it would be handy. So look at the image very carefully, and I want you to look at the content. What's actually in the image? Okay, so you look at the image, and I want you to describe what's in the image. So basically, describe the content is the first thing to do. Okay, so describing the content. Second thing I'd like you to do is to create a narrative of no more than 20 words. Okay, so you have to try and create a narrative of no more than 20 words. So it's a 20-word narrative. So basically, a 20-word story that you make up about the image that you have. So, okay, and then what I need you to do, which is very, very important, I need you to give the image that you have a title. Okay, so the 3 things you need to do are: 1, look at the image and then describe the content the way you see it. 2, create a very small narrative using 20 words. That can be about the content, it can be something completely different, it can be made up by you. And then you need to give it a title. Now, when you come to the title, there's several titles you can use. You can say a descriptive title. We've already had that. Hold on, we had that from... We've heard that from someone, which is quite interesting. So you can have descriptive titles. You can have a metaphoric title. So a metaphoric title could be really useful. Or you can have an evidential title. Okay? And we'll talk about those more. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to give you possibly 5 minutes. And what I want you to do is do those 3 things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write in the chat what I need you to do. So number 1 is describe the content. Okay, so that's number 1. You need to describe the content. Number 2 is to create a narrative in no more than 20 words. So it's a very small narrative. Hold on. A narrative in no more than 20 words. And then lastly, number 3, all you need to do is create a title. Now, it can be, I'm going to put just some examples in because there's more than one. So create a title, and it can be descriptive, so it can be descriptive, it can be metaphoric, or it can be evidential. So it can be any of those. There can be more titles. So you've got 5 minutes. Hold on, I'm going to put a timer on. Timer. Timer. Stop it. Hello. Here we go. So you have, I'm going to say 5 minutes starting now. Right, there we go. Okay, so while that's doing that and you're thinking of a title, I'm going to have just a little chat with you. So when you come to create a narrative, it's often useful, no matter what you have, to talk about the audiences. So if you were making, for example, a piece of product design, you're designing it for an audience, and the audience has to buy into what it is. So if you look at, for example, say in architecture, the works of, I don't know, Daniel Libeskind, he develops ideas and narratives from objects around himself. So one of the most famous ones would be the Imperial War Museum in Manchester in England, which was based on a broken teapot. So he creates a narrative about war, destruction, then reconstructing it into this architectural building. If you were to do the same with product, you would then think about what's the audience, what are they looking for? Are they buying into the narrative of a lifestyle? So the example I would give is, if I were to buy a Rolex watch, it's very expensive, but I'm buying into the lifestyle, the narrative involved in it. If I buy a very cheap watch from a stand out in the streets, it's a very cheap watch, the narrative is, it'll tell me the time. The Rolex and the cheap watch still tell the same time, but the narrative is, I'm buying into the lifestyle of one or the other. The same would apply if you're doing, elements of persuasion. In order to persuade an audience and convince them to understand, you have to get them to understand the narrative that you're trying to do. So narrative goes across all areas of design. What's the narrative? What are you trying to do in terms of buying, or the audience buying into things? So you've been presented with 5 images. There's 2 color images, some of you will have those, and there are 3 black and white images. So elements of narrative also involved understanding how you may use color, why you may not use color. So for example, why are most of my iPhone products, black and white? Why are they not bright green and pink and yellow like Samsung or Galaxy? Why are things in there? So again, these audiences, in order to persuade an audience, you have to understand them, possibly understanding their story. So you start to talk about storytelling. So the first thing you will do, you've only got a few minutes left. Literally you have, okay, you've got now 1.5 minutes. And then what we're going to do is something quite interesting. Okay, so look at the images you have, look at the content, create a story around that, but no more than 20 words. It's a very short story. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, what we're going to do is, in 1 minute, 25 seconds time. I'm going to ask some of you to tell me a story. You're going to tell the story to everyone, which is interesting. And if you can't get the microphone to work, you can put the story into the chat. 20 words. Okay, you have 1 more minute left. So I'm going to pour some more tea. Okay, so look at the content, describe some of the content, think of a title that might work for an audience, maybe even as a signpost, descriptive, metaphoric, evidential. You now have 20 seconds left. It's all very quiet. Okay, and stop. Right, okay, so you can stop writing, you can stop doing that. Okay, so this becomes interesting. So I'm now going to share my screen with you and show you the images because you can see what we have here. So if I just minimize this, and what I'm going to need to leave this up so I can see some of you. Right, now, what I want you to do is to put your hand up if you had this image, okay? Right, put your hand up if you had this image in chat. You can raise your hands. There we go. So who had this image then? You may need to say something, or you may have to write about it in the chat because it won't. This exercise won't work if you don't. Ah, right. So PC doesn't have a forecam. Oh, right. So who had this image then? Because I know one of you's already put in here. Okay. Can you tell me the title? You just have to tell me what the title is.
Rob, it's me. Yeah, Junhan from Daphne. I choose wrong image, but I choose the bottom one. A lot of people they are standing. Okay, I choose the final one. So yeah, I didn't choose this one. Okay, so that was the reason I just write some message to you, and then.
So you chose this one. Okay,
Yes.
this is okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not, the whole point.
I choose this one.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. No, don't worry. I mean, the way that I've never done this before online. It's always been in a room where you're giving people objects, and it works really very well because you do that. But when it's online, I don't know. So this is the image that you have. What sort of title did you give it?
Yeah. Title. I think curiosity, because people maybe they are curious something or happening. So I just choose curiosity for this title.
Okay, so this is interesting. So who else had the one with the red floor? What other people had the red floor, and what title did they give it? Anyone? You can put it into the chat if you don't want to talk, if you're too shy. But you need to sort of say what it. Put it in the chat if you had the red image. Okay.
你们有谁要分享吗？当你们是看到这一个 image 的时候，你们有没有谁想要像我一样分享给老师 Rob 听？
Right, so someone has put in here, it looks like an abandoned area.
还是你们是选哪一个 image 的，也可以跟 Rob 讲，因为我刚刚没有去看到我的 A 的。
So anyone is E1. Let's talk about E1 first. So E1 is the red floor. So C3 we've got quite a few, which is interesting. Actually, hold on. All right, so there's two people talking about E. Right, so what we'll do is we'll look at C3, which is this. Okay, so these are carefully selected images from my collection. So C3, so you can all see what I'm saying here. So someone says, it looks like an abandoned area. In other words, you're describing the content. So the question you would then ask is, we'll go through this. So 1, looks like an abandoned area. In addition, the lack of light reflects the overall dark feelings. That's interesting. The benches next to it makes it feel lonely. Okay, so this becomes interesting. When you start to sort of look at images, and when you start to describe them, you describe the content. Now, what you've done there is you've described the content quite well. The idea of it looking dark and overall, it is actually at night. Yes, it is taken in pitch black. So that's the description of what it is. The idea of the bench making it lonely, this is where, when you begin to look at semiotics and how images are read, you begin to say, I will read this sometimes based on my personal experience or my cultural experience. So that becomes interesting. The fact that you think it's abandoned, because you say, you know, abandoned, the part there's the description, an apocalypse where everything is corroded. This is a picture of human survival after the apocalypse. Now, that's really, I mean, 20 words is fine, so don't worry. But that's a really interesting thing, because what you've done there is you've made the connection between an object, in this case the car, that has decayed, but then you put it into a human context of something bad has happened. Now you're explaining that through the description of what we see as something that's run down. That's actually quite interesting. The title, the title's very apocalyptic. Others are in hell. Okay, so that's an interesting approach to this one piece. So the way we organize this exercise face to face is you're given several, so this is one person. If I now look at this second person with the same image, VC has said, the street light spots on the white bench in the car before dawn. So again, this becomes interesting. What you're starting to do is look at the small beam of light at the top, almost like a spotlight falling on it. And it is actually, that's a light. I think what you've done there, which is interesting, you're saying this part here, on the white light on the bench, and the red car before dawn. So person 1 has said apocalypse because of the decay and the corrosion. Person 2 has said, you know, it's before dawn. And you've also said a drunken man walks home alone as an exhausted shovel, and you've called it side street. Now this is where it becomes interesting. What we would normally do if we're all in one space together is we would be talking about the same image, but the different approaches to the construction of a narrative. So, and you've also called this side street. So person 1, I don't know who you are at the moment, you've said, you know, it's abandoned, it's apocalyptic. You're reading into the image the corrosion of the car. Person 2, you're reading into the image the color of the car, and that color of the car being before dawn. But the title, Side Street, that's interesting. Okay, so what we'll do is we're going to look at a couple of others. So car is interesting. Right, now this one. Somebody put this in here about the elevator. Right, yes, so this is interesting. So this is E1, which is the number, and this becomes interesting. So standing on a very high building, trying to look at some things through a red floor. So description, it does look a little bit like that, and it can do, partly because the part at the top is abstract. So by making something abstract, not there, question, does it look real? Has it been altered? Is it Photoshop? Is it someone being generated by AI? We don't know. Well, the fact is, it's real, but it's also, this is important. So this person has said, people are very curious about something interesting that's happening around their environment. Why does it look like they're curious, interested? The answer is the angle at which the image is taken. So we're looking down. We know we're looking down because we can see everyone's feet. So we're looking down from one viewpoint. And curiosity would imply we're looking at an empty space. So the narrative might be, what was in this space that has now just left? That means we're all staring at this space. So there's a curious element to it. What I find very interesting, though, is there's no mention of the use of colour in this, whereas in this, people have picked up on the colour of the car itself as a factor to describe the narrative. So that is actually quite interesting. When you start to look at it like that, you go, Now, what else do we have? So we've got that one. What else? So I'm going to go back to this one. Yeah, here we are, elevator. Where are we? Right, so this. I'll put this in for a very simple reason. Can someone type into the chat the description of it, what they think it is, the narrative, and then a possible title? So the obvious description is, what is it? So I gave the elevator title, this one. Title, afterwards. Ooh, afterwards. So mint, why afterwards as a title? Where are you? Oops. Oh, you're there. Mint. Yep. Just curious. Oh, for C. Ah, right. Okay. So for this. Right. So afterwards. Okay. Again, very apocalyptic. Okay. So can anyone who had this one, or did anyone pick this one? Because you have to say what you think it's about. So my interpretation of this would be, one, the description. It's 2 elevator buttons. 1, 2. So 2 elevator buttons. What's wrong with the buttons? You can type into the chat, what is wrong with the buttons? No one? Okay. 1 is going in the right direction. Yes, that's it. Yes. 1 is going in the right direction, 1 in the wrong direction. So that could, if you were to say, okay, the content is elevator, 1 in right direction, 1 in wrong direction. However, what if the narrative is this elevator? Oh, that's interesting. Probably, this is interesting, Charles, okay? So located on a roof floor. In our building, we have one of these buttons. This is it, okay? But it's not used on the roof. We have another roof button, which we are not allowed to use. So you could look at this and go, okay, is this a metaphor for going down, 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 down? Or Cam has just put in human error and construction is wrong. Okay, I'll come to that in a minute. So it could be a metaphor for going down, down, down. It could be, if you were to say, in terms of the narrative, well, actually it's about depression. It could be about mental well-being. You know, you're describing what's happening. You're describing an emotion, how I feel. So that can be in there. It could be an emotional content. If this were a piece of product and the product were to say what it's about, You're making commentary on literally emotional responses by using this device. In reality, Cam is right. It was just put in the wrong way round. The top button should be the other way. But that's where it becomes interesting, if that makes sense. Quick question then. So, did anyone have this? Did anyone have this image? If you did, can you put into the chat the content, 20-word narrative if possible, and the title? So again, when you talk about the content, when you're describing, you describe what you see. So what's the first thing you see? Again, just type into the chat.
We have one in the chat, Ellie.
Ah, there we go, Ellie. Right, so, okay, right, this is important. Now, Ellie, you've said a black and white photo. I mean, so one of the things when you look at narratives, you actually look at, do you use color or do you not? The original version of this is color, but it's been taken to black and white. And again, taken through a car window when it's raining, very descriptive. So that's exactly what's happening. So it's from the inside and the viewpoint of either the driver or the passenger. So it's one of those two. This is interesting. When you start to produce work for any form, you have to think about how you're going to use color, or if you're going to use color. And if you choose not to use it, you have to think about why. So I'm going to use the example of, there's a building in Birmingham which is called Grand Central Station. It's in the same style of design as Bilbao's Guggenheim, designed by Daniel Liebeskind, and it is shiny reflective steel, metal, no color. So the question then becomes, why do you choose not to use color? So if you're going to not use color in product or architecture or advertise or any form of image making, it's to make a point that color might not be important, and you have to concentrate on the content. So that's an interesting one. Got it straight away. This one, my wipers broke, and my vision was blurry. If I kept driving like this, I will definitely hit the car in front of me. Now that's interesting because that's a nice narrative. So you've created a narrative about a story, an emotional response. You're also talking about what might happen when the wipers don't work. The title, very interesting. So the title could be descriptive, it's a crisis. It can be metaphoric, this will be a crisis, or evidential, it is a crisis. I mean, I think this is quite interesting because when I've done this before, people often try to define, what it's actually about. Okay, so that's interesting. So I'm going to go to this one now. So who had this? D. Because one of the things that Ellie's alluded to is it's almost like the atmosphere. So the atmosphere of this is significantly different from the atmosphere of this, because this we know has human content, but we don't see it. This we know has human content, but we see shadows and silhouettes. So did anyone have D1 or D? Can you write into the chat what the possible content is, how you're describing it, what your narrative construction is? No? What does it look like? What does it feel like? No one? So there's several ways to look at it. Okay, oh, going to type. On you go. I'll put it back there, sorry. There you go. Oh, okay. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, now that is interesting. Okay, so the idea of, again, this is important when you look at it. The way the images are constructed, they're all looking outside or towards something happening someplace else. So the fact that we only see the back of their heads or the back of them and that they're looking out means we're observing them, observing something, but we don't know what it is. We don't know whether it's a marching band, a parade, something has happened. We know that something has happened because they're watching. Again, this is interesting. Dark and sad mansion. Okay, by describing some of the kind of details in the background, you could say it looks like an interior, which it is an interior, and it is a very big interior, but it's not a mansion, but it's a very big interior. And the fact that there's only a few people there, you've this idea that the narrative is they're the lonely person. So that can be quite interesting. So I think there what we're sort of saying is that's the narrative. Did anyone else have this image as well and make a different narrative from the same image? Aha, right. So Vivian's saying it looks like, again, that's an interesting point. This is where when you start to construct narratives, you can play interesting games with the audience and the viewer, because we don't know what's happening, but you as the person creating the narrative, you could say, yes, this could be some accident has happened. But you could then say, if I were to use this in advertising, do I use it to sell, I don't know, insurance, life insurance for people? Or do I use this to sell car insurance for people? So you can actually sort of change the meaning and change it in different ways. Aha! Ooh. Ooh, what's that? Ooh. The sea. I hope the sky is brighter. The dim atmosphere is pulling into deep sea. Oh, for this one. Interesting. Where are we? Okay, we had that, yeah. Okay, again, that could be interesting. Again, the title, when you title things, you automatically change the audience's perception. So what I'm going to do, very briefly, and then we're going to look at some portfolio materials, is this. I'm going to take the one image. Here we go. I'm going to take you this. Oh, it's already out there. Okay, now think about this. I'm going to give you 3 different titles for this one image, and it will be for 3 different audiences. So, audience number 1 is going to be people over the age of 85. So number 1, people over the age of 85, the title for this audience is Final Rest. Final Rest. So I'm going to say E1, title, Final Rest, audience, people over the age of 81. Okay? So why am I saying final rest? Because all these people have met at a funeral and they're contemplating the death of a loved one, and they're closer to death themselves. And what keeps them going is wearing shoes, new shoes. So if I do this then, E1 again, title, oops, can't spell. Audience, Okay, so first one is final rest. Audience of people over 81. They've met at a funeral or a wake. They're celebrating the death of someone they've known and loved. Audience 2, with the same image, title, club queuing. Audience is under 25. The audience are waiting to get into a club, very active. I haven't changed the image, but you're changing by using the title and the audience definition, how it might be used. Does that make sense? So what you can start to do is, when you pull images and create narratives, you do think about audiences, you do think about titles, but you go back to describing the content. Then you start by maybe creating a small word narrative, and then the title is what the audience latches onto. Does that make sense? I'm going to come out of this and stop sharing. Stop sharing for a moment. Whoa, oops. Oh, there we go. Does that make sense? Is that interesting for people to try and understand how you can reshape a narrative, create something totally different using the same materials? Yeah? Does that make sense, Daphne?
Yes, yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, because people will just look at different image, but they will have different feelings and different reading about different feelings about their feeling, right? So it is very good. Yeah. So do you
works.
what about other classmates? Yeah. So other students, do you want to share your feelings about what you learn from this workshop to Rob? 泰玲还是那个 Vivian 张？你们有人要分享一下吗？因为 Rob 也是第一次这样子跟大家就是用 online 的在做这个的这样子的一个 workshop， 因为他说他刚刚有说他之前都是 face to face 跟他的学生，然后这一次是第一次用这样子的形式用 online 的，所以他也想了解一下你们大家的想法。方便的话可以打开你们的麦克风，可以来跟大家分享一下吗？
Doris, you have your hand up.
Doris, 你要对，你们都有人举手哦，来，好，可以打开你们麦克风，可以讲话。
I think this activity is interesting, but I cannot type in a group, so I don't know how to join this activity. Yes, I cannot join the conversation.
Oh. Wow, that's a pity. But I mean, I might do it. It's still useful to talk about it, because the idea is that you have to reshape how people think, and how you can. So, for example, in all forms of, creating a narrative, whether it's for an animation or a poster design or product design or architecture, you have to define who the audience is. Then you have to create some sort of narrative. What I've done here is, by using the same imagery, and normally when this is done in a studio space, you put people into individual groups and they're given one image. But what you have to do is create a narrative, and the narrative is shaped usually by the content, but not always, which is where the title of something, it becomes a signpost for a viewer. So every title of every project is a signpost for a viewer. And if you change the title, but don't change anything in terms of, the kind of content, the audience will always read it differently. And that's a design process that designers use. It doesn't matter what area you go into. The example I would use is, if I were producing a piece of animation for advertising, and I use a very traditional soundtrack from a particular culture, it will have a different meaning to that audience if I use a different soundtrack for another culture. So all of these things become really, really useful. Does that make sense? Ooh, okay, good. Any other questions? And then are we going to look at some portfolios, Dorothy?
刚刚命好像有问题要问，你也可以直接来问一下 Rob 哦。
Oops.
命你没有开麦克风。
Not a lot. No one's talking. Okay. So what should we do now then, Daphne?
命听不到你的声音，还是你要用打字的呢？你要不要用打字的？
What was it? Ooh, someone's come back to me. Yay. Aha, that's an interesting question. It's not just to practice observation. It's to practice and understand interpretation. So I'm going to put this into the chat. It's also to understand I'm trying to spell here, sorry. So it's to understand interpretation. So once to understand interpretation, it's so oops. Don't worry, the mics have problems. So as part of the observation is one element. Interpretation is another, but interpretation is also cultural context. So cultural context means we interpret the same thing differently. Yeah. Oh, how to collect ideas. Collecting ideas, I'll have to show you one way I use all the time. Okay, I use this a lot. I use one of these. I make notes, I collect ideas, I collect everything on my phone. Ideas, I collect from all sources. So ideas, anything from a piece of graffiti, an exhibition, a question, some podcast, just seeing ideas are all around us. In fact, can I show you? I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to show you something I use for my students. Where are we? We put together over the last 7 years a collection of books. Now we call it the Good Books Padlet. I'm just going to show you this briefly. Because what it allows us to do, this is how we collect, or we ask students to collect things. I just hide this. Okay, I'm now going to, oops. Try again. Do it this way. La, la, la. Here we go. Well, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to share my screen with you. Oops. Right, so we do this. We do a thing called Good Books Padlet. These are books that all designers on our programs, specifically mine, use. And what we do is, these are links to our library. So we ask students to look at, for example, thinking beyond brainstorming, folding techniques for designers. So this can be used by anyone from origami to architecture to product. Listening to customers, unbrandable, thinking visually, the really interesting book this, psychology of humor, the space between notes, artistic approaches and cultural mapping, graphic design, arts in turmoil, subversive stitching. So what we've done over the years, these are specific books. So digital storytelling is one that's really useful for narrative structure, as is, fashion drawing and illustration, or type design, illustrating fashion, drawing power. So one of the things we say when it's, where do you collect ideas from? You literally will find them all over the place. So one of the things that we've done for years is this idea that literally, literally everything around you can be an idea. So again, good point. So the idea of different cultures having different worldviews, yes. So for example, the program that I run is international. We have students it's an MA program in visual communication design. So we have students from Taiwan, China, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, Britain, Europe, America, and they all have different cultural points of view. So cultural context. So in fact, there's a really good website called Ads of the World. And I'm going to share this with you because we use this. Where are we? If I type this in, ads. So this is a website that my students, a lot of students use, and it's a commercial website called Ads of the World, and it's just about advertising ideas, campaigns, and what it does is it's updated every day, different types of advertising from all over the world. And what you can do is you can search a keyword. So say you're searching, McDonald's. So we're searching McDonald's. You can search by country. So if I say McDonald's in Europe, then maybe Asia, and I search, I can then see the different cultural contexts in which McDonald's are. We don't have any. I'll try that. I'll go for keyword then would be, let's try fast food. See if that works. Then I search. And so what I have is fast food. Yeah, so this improves. So for example, fast food, this is fast food in these different countries. So if I click on this one, this is by an agency in London called Super Union, and it is called for a product called Chickaboom. Okay,
You're
and I
not
should
sharing your screen. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Oh. I apologize. Sorry. Okay, I'll try that again. Sorry. So I'll go back. So for example, what I've done here is I've put in fast food, then I've put in keywords Asia, Europe, pressed select, and for fast food, what I have is these are all different results for fast food in different countries. So this is a advertising agency called Super Union. If I click on this, it will take me to the campaign. It will then take me, hopefully, to the designers, the agency. It will give me the concept. So this is Chickaboom, Super Union, Thailand. It's an integrated food campaign, but it's also about mental health. Then it says, the description is, Super Union partnered with Minor Foods Pizza Company as a Thailand restaurant group to develop a dynamic. So basically what this website does, it shows you the most recent adverts, but it breaks them down and explains culturally how they work. So if I go back and I look at another fast food, I don't know, I'll just look at KFC X-ray chicken. So this is agency's PS21, and this is X-raying chicken. Oh, this is bizarre. So this is an advert from, let me think. Right, so this is for Spanish people. So this is aimed at one cultural context, Spanish people. They care about food, so it's Spain, Europe, it's outdoor and it's food. And then they've got some insights. Fast food is not working, da-da-dum. Then they contact the specialist. So what they're doing here is they're telling you how the adverts are put together, but it's got a cultural context. So Ads of the World is a website that we get students to use. It's updated every day. It deals with ideas, completely deals with narrative. Everything you see on it is narrative based, and it deals. So if I were to look for, I don't know, say I were to look for Taiwan, no results found because I need to spell it properly, and I would say I don't know, food. See what it comes up with. Can we? No, we can't do it by country. We can't. We would have to do it by country. But you can search that way. Is this useful for people? Because what it does is, in terms of storytelling skills, if you know how a story is going to be read in one country, you'll change your designing process, your narrative, to how it will work in another country. That applies across the board. Narratives are culturally specific, and they can be. So if you see some of the Disney films, you'll see an American version. You'll also see a British version that might have tweaks to it, or a Spanish version, or a Thai version. So understanding narrative applies across all areas of communication. Yeah, it does. You know, how you think about places, and then how you think about style and design. So some of my students, when we do a narrative project like this, we ask them to talk about narratives in their country with a project, and then how would that work for a different audience? So narratives and audiences, they overlap completely with cultural context. Pardon me. That's really important. That's really important. Oh, is that helpful for everyone? Is that making you think slightly differently? Because it's always different when we do these. I mean, if I get to come to Taiwan at some stage, or East, I'll do a workshop properly. Oh, brilliant! Thank you. Oh, right now, Daphne, was I going to look at some portfolios and some portfolio advice?
Okay, so I just asked that student 林子云，你有在线上吗？林子云有啊哈 ，OK， 所以你建议分享你的作品集给其他同学，还是说你希望他们下线？
我希望下线不好意思。
希望下线，因为他这个只剩5分钟。好，那今天其实 workshop 只剩5分钟而已，所以 Rob 必须要帮林子云看他的作品集，所以谢谢今天其他同学的来参加，可以麻烦你们赶快先下线一下吗？因为我们只剩5分钟，所以要赶快来看那个林子云的。好。
Thank you.
谢谢你们哦，还有麻烦 Charles 还有 Vivian 张，麻烦对，谢谢你们大家。好，其他的应该是一喜这边的林子云。好 ，OK， so Rob, can you just open her Miss Lin's portfolio?
Yep, I have. Hold on, I've got the link here. It's hold on, I have it. Give me a second, because Cam sent it through. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to open up the portfolio. Here we go. It's a Google Drive, checking links. Brilliant. Here we go. Perfect. So, right. So can I just, Claudia? I'm going to share my screen.
Yes. 是我要分享荧幕吗？还是
Or Rob, can Miss Lin just share her portfolio? Can you just allow her to share?
Yeah, hold on.
好。
Yeah, if you just Just share his portfolio.
Yeah，你可以 share 吗？子云？
我看一下哦，我有点不知道是怎么分享。
右上角应该有个分享，右上角应该有个分享。可以吗？
我看一下哦。这样有吗？
现在这个画面是你的吗？
对。
Oh yes. Okay. Yeah. Rob. Yeah. This is Miss Lay's portfolio. 好，那子瑜你就赶快弄一下，因为只剩几分钟。
好，我就划过去。
你可能也要稍微解释一下，很快速的解释。Okay.
Okay. So
this is a brief about me, and then the dialogue, and then this is my first project.
So the project's about scooters.
Yes,
it's dangerous.
It's an airbag on the scooter.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so it's go back down. Okay, so it's good that you got drawings. So do you want to go back to the first slide where we're just talking about the problem? So go back to the first slide. Not the one above. Yes, that one. Right. Okay. So it's good as a problem. Okay, the only thing I'd say there is where you start saying scooters are common, probably above that, right? This is the problem, here's the solution. So what you're saying is, this is a problem, I have a solution. Then the solution is, the description, scooters are common in many countries, however, since helmets. So you're saying this is the problem, what's my solution? So that part's okay. Your solution is going to be the AirPad.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, yeah. And then the next slide. Okay, so this is good. You've got a lot of iterations of development. So you're showing the processes.
Yeah.
And you're saying it's coming from Honda, the initial designs. Okay, sorry, it can come from Honda.
Yeah, they designed an airbag for iPhone. So I thought that is interesting if I use it for scooter.
The one thing I would say here is you need to think about the form of the scooter. So an airbag coming out on a scooter means it could still fall. So you might need to think about how you're kind of helping someone not fall to the left or the right. So that's just a question. The way around that is easy. The airbag, instead of being just so if I want a scooter, hold on, I'll do this. If I want a scooter like this, and the airbag comes with this, it could be this way or this. However, if the airbag, and you've got a design there that's interesting, wraps round, it kind of pops out and goes round, then that's much better. So for example, you've got a drawing of one, 1, 2, 3. If you go 3 in and 2 down, you've got the perfect drawing there, which is a wrap round. So I think that's interesting. Okay?
Yes.
So go to the next slide.
This shows how to install the airbag.
Okay. It's an unusual place. How big is the airbag? How big?
The size will be at here.
Let's see. Oops. Do you want me to go back up so I can see the one with the people on it? Yeah.
Yeah.
If you scroll down.
Scroll down here.
Other way? Yeah, keep going. Oh, right, go.
And this is the next project.
So
Excuse me.
yeah, a yoga pad.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so go to the next slide.
Here.
Okay, the next slide. Right, okay, so yoga pad. Okay, so the pad. So it forms part of a suitcase, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. And it folds up. It doesn't roll, it folds. Okay, interesting. So it serves as a strap as well. So it's got two functions.
Like here.
Hmm.
Like a bag.
Okay. And it's resistant to heat and oil, so it can be used any place.
Yes, it's just like a yoga pad, so it can absorb the crush.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. And TPE. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, next one. So we see how it's used.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's also to do with where you can use it, conditions, sanitary conditions. Okay, next one.
Okay. And this is project 3.
Okay, so taking home plants. What else?
Yeah, it's a plant, a little plant. I inspired from these paintings, and it will look like this.
Next one. Okay. Okay. And who's the audience for this? So who's the Claudia? Who's the audience for this work? Who's it designed for? Which audience?
Like to have a little plant in your house.
Okay. And the one thing I would say is, I think you need to sort of be clear about the audience for the work. So, for example, the audience for, the stress mat, Paddy, are people who are, travelers. The audience for the safety kind of pillow are people who ride motorcycles or kind of scooters. But the audience for this isn't really clear at the minute. I think you need to be clear about the audiences because you're designing for an audience. Yeah?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Next one. Okay, so we have the audience. Okay, so book sale.
This is project 4.
So is this like so book sale is like a bookshelf?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's interesting. One thing I would say is, in terms of the design, oh no, it's okay. Okay, no. I wasn't sure about it, but you've actually put anti-slide on it, so they won't slide off. The book won't slide off. That's okay. I didn't see that. That's fine. Again, the thing I'd say here is you need to say who it's designed for. mean, it's good to see it to scale, and it's good to see the sketches, but you do need to say who it's designed for. Ring pot. Okay. Okay, so again, with ring pot. Okay, so what I'm going to say is, having seen what I've seen, I think the first two projects, you know, Paddy and the scooter, you've identified audiences, you've also identified a problem. I think the other things, there's two things you need to do is, with Blooming Green and Booksell and Ringpot, you need to be clear about the audience. So this is where you have to say, what's it for? Who's the audience? You're missing those parts in those three projects. I mean, you have them in the first two, but you've not done that in these three. That's going to be really important, yeah?
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So those are the kind of key points to say. Identify the audience and the problem you're solving. Then it gives whoever looks at the portfolio reason to know that you've thought about a problem for a specific audience. Okay, interesting ideas though. I mean, there are some interesting ideas there.
Thank you.
Well, there's one thing that might help. Just one final thing, sorry, one final thing. Is it possible that with some of the kind of projects you've got, you talk about sustainability?
Which one?
Yeah, because again, there's elements in there where you think about the planned ones where sustainability is really useful. I would definitely be talking about sustainability in there if you can.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
OK，谢谢。谢谢子云，然后就等你再把刚刚 Rob 有给你一些建议稍微的改一改，然后到之后我赶快再给我所有的一些文件的资料以及这个新的 portfolio， 然后到时候我也就可以赶快帮你申请，好吗？好，谢谢你哦，谢谢。
谢谢。
Yeah. Thank you, Rob. Thank you for your support. Yeah, every time, thank you. Yeah, and also thank you, Cam. Yeah.
No problem. Thank you so much for inviting us again.
Okay, so probably next time, so we can just organize another as well. Okay. Yeah, I will just I will check with today's students, and then later on, I will just check if they have any questions and if they want to know more about the BCU progress. Yeah, I will just let you know as soon as possible.
Sure. Daphne, is it possible for us to ask you a question? Because Rob is actually going to be coming to Asia in March. And would you have some time maybe on the 14th or 15th of March that you would be able to do an physical, workshops? We would be more than happy to come if you have some time for us, because I think it would be more beneficial for Rob to actually meet and interact physically with the students. If you have some time, I can send you information on his availability and to see if that is possible.
So just send me the email, the information first, and then I will just check with EC Design School as soon as possible. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Lovely to meet you.
Yeah, thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Cam. Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Rob. Okay, bye-bye. Bye.